Hey everyone, my name is JD, and I wanted to share a specific deck that got me to Infinite in about 2 weeks. So this was a really fun deck to use, and a deck that took a bit of customization in order to get it to where it is now. This deck focuses on the Season Pass card Hitmonkey. So if you didn't buy the Season Pass and thus do not have the card, this deck will not work well for you. Furthermore, this deck is quite malleable and can be changed to suit your tastes or playstyle. The most fun aspect of this deck is the staggering amount of power you can distribute around the locations on turn 6. Opponents often don't expect the amount of power that you can put out and the amount of power that this deck allows you to play. So without further ado, let's dive into what makes this deck so potent. I'm going to run you through all the cards I use and why I use them. This deck has a few core cards that I don't really have suitable replacements for, specifically Hitmonkey, Mysterio, Khazar, and Blue Marvel. If you end up having these cards in your hand early on in the game, then you essentially have your win condition, and snapping should be something you think about in later turns as the board unfolds. So to start us off, we have Sunspot here. This is a great card overall, and one of the best Pool 2 cards you can have. The use of this card in this particular deck may not be obvious due to the deck missing cards that synergize well with Sunspot, namely Infinite or She-Hulk. I use Sunspot as bait. I can often skip 1 or 2 turns of the game, which can add a lot of power to Sunspot and make him a juicy target for a card we don't like. A card that absolutely wrecks the power of this deck, Killmonger. Sunspot is here in case you need to wait a few turns to get more win condition cards out of your deck. And he is good because he soaks up the energy and converts it to power, which hopefully will force your opponent to use his Killmonger prematurely. Ant-Man. This is a great card because it initially looks like a 1 power card, but after playing your cards well, this card becomes 6 power. Very strong and can really help dominate a location, whatever location he's in, and only for 1 energy. So I almost always play Ant-Man last to avoid losing him to any Killmonger or Electras. Third card we have today is Iceman. This is pretty typical in decks nowadays, I think. A great card, can really set your opponent's hand behind if you get a good card hit. But I'll usually try to play this on turn 1 to hopefully trip up the opposition's plan, nailing an important card such as I don't know, a Blue Marvel can really turn the game upside down for another person. This can work really well towards throwing a wrench into the opponent's plans. So almost nothing is more frustrating than having a card become more costly to play, especially if you need to play them on a specific turn. Rocket Raccoon is our next card. Rocket is a great card, quite like Ant-Man. I always play him on turn 6, which more often than not means it is very obvious where the opponent will place his cards. This guarantees the extra 2 power. Don't play Rocket Raccoon early on. Don't try to guess where the opponent's going to play early on. It's typically not going to work. Ultimately, Rocket is a 1-cost, 6 power card buffed by Khazar and Blue Marvel. Our next card is Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey is the Season Pass card, a great card and the namesake for this deck. I think the best part of this card is the sound effect, but Hitmonkey is special because of his on reveal. You gain +2 power for each other card you played this turn, and this is what our deck today focuses on. This may seem like a weak card, but after playing him on turn 6 in the manner which I shall soon explain to you, he single-handedly turns most any location in your favor and wins you the game. Koya is our next card here. She is a buff card, one that we like to use early on turn 2 if we have her. She's a good but interchangeable card in this deck. She buffs our other cards by 1, which can really add up power across the board. She synergizes well with Hitmonkey because he does initially start at 0 power. And if you can get Okoye off early and Hitmonkey is still in your deck, by the end of the game, you can have a 12 power Hitmonkey with this deck. Next card for today is Mysterio. Mysterio is the absolute best card to play with Hitmonkey and a really good synergy card with Hitmonkey. His ability allows you to play 3 cards for 2 energy, which is great with our Hitmonkey, which is great with our beloved Banana Beauty, giving him 6 power instantly. Because of how his ability works, each clone does actually count as a card played, so this does also synergize with Bishop. Mysterio is a core card in this deck and possibly the single best card to have when playing a Hitmonkey focused deck. Next card we have is Bishop. Bishop should always be played as early as possible to maximize on his ability, which is after you play a card, he gains +1 power. So playing him on turn 3, if you have them, is the best plan. He also synergizes really well, like we mentioned before, with Mysterio. At the end of the game, Bishop's power is typically around 10 or so power. He's a very good card, and he becomes a powerhouse by end of turn 6, and really surprises people by how much power he accumulates. Ka-Zar is one of our core cards. He buffs your 1 costs by 1, which totals to 5 extra power across the board. Blue Marvel is another core card as he buffs all your cards by 1, which results in 11 power across the board with this deck strategy. Blue Marvel is a really great card, really great buff card, absolutely indispensable to this deck. He buffs the Mysterio clones, so those clones, instead of being worth 0 or having 0 power, they'll actually have 1 power. And so this card is definitely a core card, something that you're going to want to play on turn 5. If you don't have him, you're likely going to have to play Magic, which is our next card. Magic is not a core card, but a really great addition, especially for this card, and I think honestly for most decks. This is a great card as this deck requires you to play certain cards in a specific order. Magic is here to give you an extra hand in making sure you get your win condition cards. Magic allows you to force a 7th and new turn on the game. Magic also frustrates your opponents and can make them drop their 6-cost cards early on turn 6 instead of the last turn, simply because a lot of people just forget that there's a 7th turn. Often opponents have no game plan built into a 7th turn and likely do not have many good cards left over that they can play, or that they may not have space left at a location. With that being said, Magic is typically only played if you don't have Blue Marvel or Ka-Zar. You play Magic on turn 5 because you can't play her on later turns. So you play her and then you play Blue Marvel, hopefully if you get him out of your deck into your hand on turn 6. And our last card is America Chavez. This is a fantastic card because it only enters your hand on turn 6 and no other turn. Chavez essentially makes any deck she's in an 11-card deck. This is super important because of the RNG factor that Marvel Snap has. You don't know what cards you're going to get on most turns, so to be able to maximize your chances of getting the correct cards is a pretty useful strategy. So we use America Chavez literally in this deck to make sure we get our other cards. So I want to briefly talk about interchangeable cards. These are the cards that I've used for this deck. However, you don't have to use these cards if you have better ones, but the synergy of these cards in this particular deck is pretty clear. I also have used alternative cards in this deck. You can change out Okoye for Patriot, Bishop for Squirrel Girl, or America Chavez for Ultron. Patriot buffs your cards without abilities, so Squirrel Girl, Ultron, and Mysterio all benefit from Patriot's buffs. Ultron is a turn 6 monster that when paired with your other ongoing cards can really dominate a location. Blue Marvel, Ka-Zar, and Patriot each make each Ultron bot into a 5 power card, so that's 20 power at a full location. Pretty gnarly if you ask me. Lastly, Squirrel Girl is suitable for replacing Bishop as she synergizes with Patriot and your other ongoing buff cards. You could technically keep Bishop and replace Iceman with Squirrel Girl if you think that would work better, but you would likely benefit more from using Patriot anyways, if you have Squirrel Girl and Ultron. Bishop also doesn't benefit from Ultron's bots as they are not technically played cards, but are created cards. So what's the strategy? Well, the strategy with this deck is to play either Sunspot or Iceman turn 1. If I don't have these, I typically just skip the turn. I skip turn 1 as playing Rocket Raccoon should not be a guessing game, and he benefits more from being played in the late game due to it being simply easier to guess where someone will play. Turn 2, you should play Okoye on this turn if you have her, otherwise skip the turn. On turn 3, Bishop is played, and this is done to maximize on his ability in later turns. By turn 4, Khazar should be played, and on turn 5, Blue Marvel is played. If you don't have Blue Marvel, then you should play Magic. If you don't have Magic, odds are you're getting screwed by your deck, and it's better off to just simply retreat. However, if you do play Magic on turn 5, you should hopefully get Blue Marvel on turn 6. Otherwise, you'll play the Hitmonkey combo on turn 6, and on turn 7, you'll have Blue Marvel, and you can play Blue Marvel, hopefully. On turn 6, if you play Blue Marvel last turn, i.e. turn 5, then this is the turn you're going to deliver the final blow with the Hitmonkey combo, which is as follows. First, you would play Mysterio, Rocket Raccoon, Ant-Man, and finally Hitmonkey. That's 10 power right there, so pretty gnarly Hitmonkey power card. I want to share more information on specific card placement and locations. Both are very important with this deck. So to start off, due to the amount of cards played on the final turn, where you play your cards on early turns is very important. You'd likely want to pick 2 locations early on that favor you, whether that's due to the location or simply because your opponent has played a 1 or 2 cost card there. It's important to realize that 1 cost or 2 cost cards without buff cards like Blue Marvel or Khazar are pretty weak. Taking up a spot with a 1 or 2 cost card is a huge advantage for you and likely for your opponent if you don't buff them. Okoye should be played on a location you do not intend to win. Okoye is a weak card, and we are only interested in her ability to buff cards in your deck, so I like to play her on any location that has a negative debuff that either destroys your cards, like Death's Domain or Danger Room, or I like to play her on a location that removes powers such as Necrotia or Negative Zone. Okoye, like I said, takes up unneeded space, so get rid of her if you can. We only want her ability. If you can't get rid of her, simply stack her on a location with Blue Marvel and Khazar, leaving 1 spot open for a Mysterio clone. So I'll usually stack Bishop and Sunspot on the same location to ensure I have enough power there at the end of the game. This location is one of the locations we're going to need to win. By turn 6, you should have 1 location with only 2 cards, Sunspot and Bishop, 1 location with 1 or no cards, and your 3rd location should have at least 1 spot left for a clone. This location will likely have Okoye, Khazar, and Blue Marvel. So this ensures you have enough space for Mysterio to play himself and his 2 clones, space for Ant-Man and Rocket, and finally Hitmonkey. Optimally, you will have Sunspot and Bishop on 1 location, Khazar and Blue Marvel on another, and a 3rd open location for your Hitmonkey combo. Now, the golden rule for card placement is to always distribute your cards evenly across all locations, if possible, without taking debuffs. So essentially, most turns, you'll want to play a card on a different location than you did the turn before, just to spread out your cards, while keeping in mind that you want to keep Bishop and Sunspot on the same location to stack power. So this is the turn 6 combo. This combo puts out a lot of power and can really surprise your opponent, who is going to expect a flood of 1-cost cards because of your early plays of Khazar and Blue Marvel. However, they're only going to get 2 1-costs. They're going to get Mysterio and Hitmonkey, and 2 1-costs, typically Rocket Raccoon and Ant-Man. So firstly, for the turn 6 combo, you're going to want to play Mysterio on a lane you intend to win. He's 4 power, soon to be 5 due to Blue Marvel, so you'll want to play him on a lane you want to win. Also play Ant-Man on this lane as well. Ant-Man will be buffed to a 6 power card, so a lot of power brought onto that lane. Next, you'll want to play your second 1-cost card. Optimally, this will be Rocket Raccoon. Play Rocket on a location you tend to win, but also a location that your opponent will likely play a card in, so you can maximize on Rocket's ability. Lastly, you'll want to play Hitmonkey on the second location that you intend to win. Hitmonkey will already be at a 10 power due to Mysterio and the 2 1-cost cards you played previously. He's also going to gain 1 power from Blue Marvel, and hopefully Okoye will have buffed him, which will put him at the strength of Hulk. So I hope you were able to enjoy and learn something from this video today. I really enjoyed playing this deck, and this one is a real winner if you ask me. With that being said, I appreciate every one of you who has watched this video today, and I will be releasing a new video at least once a week. So if you found this video helpful, then please hit that like button for the algorithm and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more.